So last summer, I felt this strange pull to revisit my childhood home. It had been abandoned for years, and I just really wanted to see it again. My family still owns the property, so I have access to be able to go out and visit. And my goal with this was really just to kind of be present with some of my earliest memories and to feel into that space again. And the reason why that was coming up for me last year was because I was working with a coach and learning how to do parts work using internal family systems, a mode of self-therapy that kind of is built on this theory that we are not just one person, but we're made up of a lot of sub-personalities and parts within us. And this really resonates with me, and a lot of the parts work sessions that I was doing were bringing me back to this season of life, and even in this house where I have, began my growing up. So I was only there from birth to about 7 years old, but I did visit a lot in summers too. So really wanted to get back to that space and just kind of see what gifts might be there for me. My uncle still lives next door to the property, so he offered to drive me over in his mule ATV because this old dirt road that was leading to the property was just overgrown with weeds and saplings, and the road was sort of like hard to see at that point. So we had to essentially plow our own way through the brush. And as we approached the house, it was really kind of eerie because two giant turkey vultures flew from this hole in the roof that was just right over where my parents' bedroom used to be. And that image has really stayed with me. I think about, how nature has reclaimed this place that I once called home. And a vulture of all things, my mind made this symbolic connection between vultures and death and endings. And I felt like I was there for a little bit of that symbolism, but it wasn't just the acknowledgement of the ending that I was feeling. It was also a bit of grief and also some reverence. And as I was walking around outside the property, that's when I saw this skull with curved horns rising from the earth. I picked it up and my uncle said, "Oh, that's an Aoudad." And I didn't know what that was, so I looked it up and learned that Aoudads are these wild sheep from North Africa, and they thrive in harsh, rocky terrain. They're survivors, and the reason they were in this rural part of Texas is because most likely they escaped from a hunting lease at some point, and some of them had become wild in the area due to that. So I'm learning about this sheep and realizing, they're known for surviving in harsh and challenging conditions. And something about that just really resonated deeply inside me. And I think in part because I was finding this at my childhood home. And, without fully understanding why, I took the skull home and it sat on my porch for a few days. And then one evening, as I was listening to the birds and kind of watching the setting sun dance in and out of the leaves of my Pride of Barbados plant that's out front, I picked it up again, this skull, and I began to just sort of run my fingers along the smooth bone. And I heard something, not audibly, but internally, like a whisper, which I always equate to spirit speaking to me. Whenever I hear this little whisper inside, it's like my soul speaking to me or God speaking to me. And what I heard was paint the skull. And I do my best to follow that whisper when I hear something, because even if it's something that seems trivial or small or insignificant in some way, it usually unfolds into something much bigger. So I followed that whisper. And I didn't have a plan when I began painting this. I actually just had a beginner's paint set, a few brushes, a little bit of curiosity, and hadn't done any kind of painting really. So this was really a situation where I just went in to see what I could come up with this. And as I painted, it became clear to me that this was not just a skull that I had found, was actually becoming a mirror of sorts. It was reflecting a part of me. And like I mentioned, I've been doing this type of self-therapy called parts work, or internal family systems. And with IFS teaching us that we're not just one fixed personality, we're made up all of these parts that have their own voices and personalities and subtypes. They kind of could even be classified as an archetype of sorts. They have their own roles, stories, and even wounds. And this skull was really speaking the story of one of my parts that has played a big role in my life and in my success. This was called the survivor, and I'll bring it forward, just show you what I've created here. And I'll share more about this, but this is a survivor. This is the Aoudad sheep skull that I found and then painted and added some feathers here. And I want to, as you're just kind of checking it out, I want you to, consider if you might have a part like this too. This is that survivor mentality, the one that gets you through, the one that's going to figure things out no matter what, that stays strong, that really holds things together. It's that part of you that is resourceful and resilient and quite rugged even in some capacities, and probably the part of you that is just constantly whispering to you, just keep going, just push through, power through, you can do this. So you can see there's a lot of positivity to this part. And for me, this survivor part was born in this tension between some of my deepest truths and the world that I was growing up in. So I realized when I was 16 years old that I was romantically attracted to girls instead of boys, and also deeply entrenched in conservative Christianity. And it was a survivor that helped me learn how to keep it together. I survived by striving, by outperforming, and by being really good at things. Probably drove some workaholism and perfectionism along the way. And even, maybe that part of me that was just holding my breath and pushing through when things got really challenging. And so when I began painting this Aoudad skull that I found in my childhood home, it was almost like I was taking a moment to thank that part of me, that survivor part of me. She did her job. She kept me alive. That's what all of our parts intend to do, and they always have our best intentions in mind, even when they do stupid things. But in her case, she did her job. She kept me alive. She helped me succeed and become a high-achieving individual that I can be really proud of the things that I've been able to produce in my life. But the key point here is that survival is not the same as wholeness, and it's not thriving. Surviving is not thriving. And sometimes the part of us that gets us through the fire isn't the one that's meant to lead anymore. And, I'm looking at my survivor part and realizing that she deserves a little rest now. She deserves honor, not exile, because she brought me here to this place. But the thing that I've learned is that she also doesn't have to carry me into what's next. I can call on her when I'm facing serious challenges, but she doesn't have to carry that burden alone. And so this project of Into the Wild and painting this piece has really been cathartic for me, and so that's why I'm sharing it here today, because what's interesting is that I thought that was the end of the story, finding this skull and painting it and kind of discovering that it represents this part of me. But then 2 more skulls arrived in my life, and I received a goat skull and a 9-point deer. And I've realized through once again painting and exploring this kind of this alignment of things that these are new parts, new archetypes, even new invitations. And so next week I'm going to be introducing the next part in the series I call the Explorer, and she's represented by the goat skull. But she's the part of me that dared to leave the known path So for now, I just invite you to sit with your own survivor. Think about what part of you may have gotten you to where you are. What stories, what strategies, what strengths lie in your survivor? And what might be possible if that part could take a little bit of a rest and lean more heavily on some other parts of you. So if you want to explore the next part, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow the Into the Wild series. I'll see you next week.